Hello, this is Helen Weedon, the Managing Director of the Satcoms Innovation Group, and I'm here with a man who needs no introduction, Martin Coleman, of course, our former Executive Director. Hello, Martin.
Hi, Helen. Yes, no introduction. Oh my God, I can feel the people cringing out there.
No, not at all. So obviously, Martin, everybody knows you as the man to do with interference and IRG and then SIG. But what some people may not be as familiar with is your company, Colem. So maybe you can just tell us quickly about Colem.
Okay, all right, Helen. Yeah, make a change. Yeah, Colem. Well, Colem was sort of sprung out of the great escape from British Telecom, really, in '92. Big moment in my life. I suddenly decided I was given a chance to go. They gave me some pennies, and so we went. And I went into the great thing, and there the life really started to rock and roll. That's when Colem was born. And by the 1st of September 1992, the company was live and running. And it really did run because my background, albeit all sorts of telecom switching, satellite, Madley, Goonhilly, etc. The one topic that came through with me from the digital background was computing, and in that I specialized in all sorts of, albeit incredibly early, automation systems. But that's what drove me with Colem. And the funny thing was, at the beginning I muddled about a bit like you do with a new business. In fact, I had no idea how you ran a business in 1992. I knew about what I was doing, and I had a brainwaves and thoughts and future and a plan. But actually running a business, and I'm sure, Helen, you know that as well as I do, it's a bit of a moment when you actually do it. Feels easy now, of course, but I got a contract with Scientific Atlanta, of all people. Some of you may remember them. For some, they're young enough, they probably don't even know who they are. I think it's now Cisco, if you look back in the history from where it went to when it was sold, split up, and eventually ended up in, I believe it's part of Cisco, if you look at the history. But it was really interesting. They had a huge project to deliver 28 9-meter ground stations to the EBU all over Europe. And I mean the continent of Europe, not just the bit we think of as Europe. So that's up to the Urals. So it gave us an interesting start in some very interesting places. And there's stories there. We could stay here for the next 3 hours, probably having a giggle about some of those stories. But it took me in some areas, but guess what was coming through? These were the early times where Scientific Atlanta was one of the pioneers of network management systems as we see today, and getting that automation, the man-machine interface. It was all a bit basic, and it was on a thing called DOS. Everybody remember that? DOS, the old computer systems of what was Microsoft from '84. Well, 92, we hadn't progressed very far. We were still DOS. And this was a DOS system. And so that's where I really started to get into network management and automation. We automated all those stations. I was personally involved with 16 out of 28. Plus, I did all the runarounds and the maintenance and build. Honestly, some of the weather conditions of building these things just don't take me there. Some of it wasn't quite so pleasant. But some great stories, great people. But automation is the key here, I think. That's what sort of where I was, and it really started to gel, which is sort of why today I sort of think, which is why I'm thinking that is often in what I say, and it's often what I think about with AI and machine learning and things. That's why I think the next era is in automation. But that's where I started. That's why I started. There's a bit of luck, a bit of a risk, and it's been a bit of a, well, as I say, the grass has been a little browner perhaps than greener, but it's been quite a ride for 28 years now. So there we go.
Amazing stuff. So what's happening with Colem right now? I know you've had some interesting projects on the go. Any you can tell us about?
Yeah, well, of course, for the last 13 years, I've been handling a special project with one of our members, actually, ETL Systems in Herefordshire. They got me involved in this thing. I shall blame Ian Hilditch for everything. No, they got me involved with a with the government, the US government department called NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. What a mouthful that is. Anyway, satellites control, and we ended up controlling the telemetry and sort of servicing routes through all the matrices that ETL supplied. And it started off, and it became a very specialized system, and now it's grown. We've been doing that for some 13 years, and of course, that all went, and then that's where Colem went to Crystal in 2019. So Colem exists as Colem Engineering, my partnership. I have two Colems. I had a Colem Communications Limited, and which did the network management systems that I developed from about 97. And Colem Engineering was always the partnership that ran from 92. That was, if anything, it was the head of the, it sounds like a corporate structure. It's like building a corporate structure. Not really, but that's how I planned it. And so the Colem Communications went over to Crystal in Atlanta. And of course, they've moved on to LTN Global now. So things do move on very fast. But NOAA's still very close to my heart. I do a lot of consultancy with them and looking at the future. And I'm working with a local company here now on what that difference should be. How do they want to operate in not just now, but 2025 and onwards? So we're starting to look at a new future for NOAA in how they operate their systems, how people switch things. I mean, we're right in the middle of the switching. The ETL system is sitting there in 3 ground stations at the moment around the east coast of America. And our control system is the center of those things. And it's the hub of everything, whether you look to the antenna side or the, if you like, the sort of ground infrastructure of modems, service provision, telemetry equipment, all the bits and pieces that, if you like, the baseband of everything is fed. And guess what? We're right in this critical part in the middle. If we get it wrong, NOAA goes wrong. So we're not allowed to get it wrong. So you can imagine for 13 years, we've had a few knife edge moments, but overall, it's nice to know that we know at NOAA, we're one of the top software suppliers to NOAA now. We have we're in the 99 and lots of 9% reliability, which is exactly, if anybody's out there doing this stuff, that's exactly where you have to be. You cannot be 99 and a bit. You have to be lots of 9s and the odd 5 on the end before you've made it. So yeah, experience taught me what to do and make reliable, but it's been a nice ride, and the consultancy's still running. So it's a nice way to carry on with people. The people are always the best bit, but it's a tricky contract. It involves prime contractors, subcontractors, and I think I'm the sub of the sub of the sub somewhere down there. But anyway, it's been a good ride. So yes, that's been where Colem's been in recent years.
So obviously, just as your solution is the hub of everything, I think people can describe you as the hub of everything as well. So as well as handling everything to do with Colem, you're obviously still very much involved in SIG. And one area that I know that you've been particularly passionate about for quite a number of years now and have been making some headway in is in STEAM and encouraging youngsters into this industry. So I don't know if you want to say a few words about some of those recent activities you've been working on.
Yeah, I will, Ellie, because yes, you know me well enough. I've been banging the table quite a bit. And sadly, like most things, I've been very busy, along with all of us in the team and with all the other groups of people around the planet. And of course, there's never time, is there? So one day, not that many, was it? A year and a half ago now, after doing some experiments, working with some schools, but very randomly, I've been saying that if each one of us went back to one school and took on a class of students, a group of students, if we just got one, let's say that was 40 students, that seems to be about the average that you would normally meet as a group. Not always the same class, but in groups of it. And we're talking, I've been looking at the shall we call it the high school, the secondary school, as we would say here, sort of level, the sort of 11, 16 era, because I have a great belief that I love what we see and what happens in university and the success stories, but how do you get a kid to become a success, or even just be okay, in not just our industry, any industry? I don't think we should. I mean, I use my industry and my experience to teach, or to, I don't know about teach, no, not teach, to try and support and just, I don't know, get that passion within children and students that can see a future but can't quite touch it. You can't quite see how to do it. And that is the bit that matters, is how do you get them to want to go to university, or perhaps an apprenticeship, or whatever it is, get them pointed in the right direction. Remember, I do not have a degree. I know, I can hear you all saying, we know, Martin, we can tell. I was just an apprentice, and there's nothing wrong in that. The sad thing is apprenticeships are hard to come by and not as good as they were when I started. They were number one way of doing things in 1970. Now they're a bit secondary and need dragging up. Some companies do better than others, but it's a problem. So it was just the case, could you get 1 in 40, just 1 in 40 to join not just our industry, but industry, let's say. So eventually I did a lot of talking, as I often do, sorry. And of course, we didn't make any progress, and I couldn't get anything to buy it. So an opportunity came within my village here. I got connected to my local school in Shaftesbury, just 8 miles up the road, here in Dorset. And that was it. That broke it. It just meant, honestly, the few hours I've had to do and the success has been astounding. All that happened, and I put some money in it. I got a coach and organised a coach, and we got 37 students on there plus teachers, and we took them all off to Airbus, and luckily that we just made it before lockdown. That was January this year. And what a success, not only because Airbus did a great job, and what an exciting place. Our team's been there for a workshop and it was great. We had a great time there, but an inspiring company. I know they're big corporate, but they do have apprenticeship schemes. They do know what this is about, and they do know how you get people interested from school to their business. And it takes the university route as well as the apprenticeship route. And that was a great match for my thinking. And you know what? We have James Pester. That's the result for SIG this year. We have our Young Engineer of the Year. He got the award, and he's not even an engineer yet, but he made such a difference. Not only did he prove a point for me, I must have paid him a lot of money to do that, but he actually was so struck by Airbus. He asked the best questions. They were struck by his passion and interest. And guess what? Within days of return, he wanted to know more about the apprenticeship, who to talk to. And he got the award later on this year from us in SIG. Thanks to Helen for organising all that. That was great. And better than that, the day I presented, excuse me, the day I presented him with an award, the day before, only the other week, he actually applied formally for his apprenticeship with Airbus. Yes, so that's better than because that's 1 in 37 in our industry. And it didn't take long, folks. It didn't take me that many hours. Just your local school. That's it. That's all people had to do. So I want to grow that, and I've been working with EMSTER, as Helen knows. We had the debris seminar a couple of weeks ago, and I've been working with Gunilly Heritage Society. So it's starting to become an old folks' home. But anyway, but the point is, we've been trying to look at the STEM angle and use it as a way of getting us not only through this COVID lockdown palaver that we're all going through, helping the groups keep going. It's also doing something I've wanted to do with IRG and now SIG, is to actually bring that on. It's important. If we don't have academia and schools, you can't do one without the other. This is where I think the industry, our industry in particular, has made a mistake. It's aiming too high, looking at the best, looking at the successes, which is fantastic. But for God's sake, how do you get them? How do you make the success? You have to start right back. Some have said we should start at primary school. I don't think I have the time or the experience to go that far back. That could be, I'm thinking, looking at Helen on this video, thinking, now Helen's, it could be a good, that be good. So I shall start working on the younger element to look at that angle. But certainly we must concentrate from 11 up. 11, 12 up is so imperative. So I've loved that bit. It's been a lovely change to becoming a little, supposed to be a quieter life for me, you know, that semi-retirement bit. Yeah, forget it. There's no point having semi-retirement, might as well keep going. But it has been a small success, and now I've got to work on the next group and see if I can get another person to take an interest in industry. And as I said, I don't mind where the person lands. It doesn't have to be in aerospace. I don't mind if they end up, you know, hotels, although that could be tricky these days, whatever. It could be in any part of any industry. That's the success. So there you go, Helen. That was, I finished my little tirade of STEM now.
So if industry professionals are watching this, what one call to action do you want them to take to make this happen?
Talk to us, me if you like, but you can certainly talk to Helen. Pick up one school. It could be a colleague of yours that could do that, maybe, not directly you, depending on age groups and where you are and what's possible. Get hold of one school, work with one class or one STEAM or STEM aspect of that school. Most schools, I think nearly all schools are into that. Pick up on a subject, help them, even if it's presentation skills, do something, and then think about, you know, what they're lacking and help them bridge the gap. So everybody, just one person, one school. If we did every little group I know, from the EMPsters to the BSNs to the SIGs to the GHSs and anything else, do you know there's enough people there to get hold of at least 100 schools in the UK? That means we could have this year, if everybody had done the same, we could have had 100 students applying for either a university place to do technology, engineering, whatever, or, as with James, going for an apprenticeship scheme with a company. Just one. So it don't care what level you are, whether you're the CEO or the cleaner, it doesn't matter. You've got experience, go move the experience to school. Go back to school, go find the school, use the school, and just let them guide you. You don't have to spend that many hours. I reckon to get James where he was, it took me probably 24 hours of actual effort to make it happen, spread over something like 6 months, which I don't think is too heavy a extra burden. That's what I think we should do.
Great, sounds good. Thank you, Martin. It's been a pleasure as ever.
Thank you, Helen. No, looking forward to that. It was nice to talk about some other things for a change. I like that. Thank you, Helen. Cheers.
Thank you.